Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and call this McCordsville Town Council meeting for Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Greg Brewer.
Here.
Brian Burney.
Here.
Scott Jones.
Here.
John Price.
Here.
Chad Gooding.
Absent. All right. If you'll please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First order of business is the approval of our executive session minutes for May 6, 2025.
I move we approve the executive session minutes of May 6, 2025.
Second.
Been a first and second to approve the executive session minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay. Next order of business is our council meeting minutes from May 13th, 2025. This time, are there any addendums, questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve the council meeting minutes of May 13th, 2025.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve the minutes from May 13th, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. At this time, we're going to open up for any public comments for any non-agenda items. So if you're here to speak about something that's not on the agenda, this is your time to do it. It could be about anything. All right, I'm closing the public comments. Oh, you guys don't sign that. First order of business is committee and staff reports. First up is Parks Board.
The Parks Board did not meet, but there may be an update on Old School Park.
Yes, so I'll fill in some of the details of what's going on, and then if you have specific questions, Mark or I will be able to answer those. So we share in the public's frustration that that park is still closed and still pretty far away from being completed. The positive news I'll give you today is they were on site. Our contractor was on site working on the basketball area, and the fence did get installed this week. So there is some movement. However, when the Parks Board authorized that project and we bid out that project, it was our intent to have the project done by the end of last year, with the understanding that in particular the playground surfacing had to be a specific temperature, so we were probably going to have to wait on that. We never, the contract with Smith Construction that we signed had an alternate that said we will be done by the end of 2024. We are in June and it is not close to completion yet. So we've had poor communication. We've had multiple days of nobody on site, wasting beautiful days where work could have been done. Where they just moved to another project and abandoned ours for certain times. It's been very contentious through the whole thing, pointing fingers and missed emails and miscommunications and whose fault's what. I should also point out that tied into the Old School Park was the replacement of storm sewer or storm drainage throughout Old School Park as well. So there were two aspects of this project as well. They're still doing landscape remediation throughout Old Town as well as the Old School Park improvements. So we're frustrated. We are glad to see them on site now. I think the relationship is beyond repair, and we just want the project done. In fact, we are not having them do the sign. We're going to bid that out separate and do it later because we just want this to wrap up and move on. So there is progress being made today. We continue to pass along information we think is pertinent, and we'll hopefully be able to wrap this up in the next month or so. But we have people that want to rent the shelter and people that want to use the park, and we're struggling to keep kids off the playground, even though we have signs that we're going to add additional signs and tape to try to keep people off of it. So, but it was supposed to be completed by now. There's no real good excuse of why it's not, and we will continue to push as best we can, but not getting great.
Is Smith Projects subcontracting out the surface, or are they the ones putting in the safety surface?
They will subcontract out the surface itself. And so we did pass along, we were worried about the subgrade. Stan looked into that, and we passed along some information to Smith to confirm with their subcontractor. But we have no idea on the timing of when they're going to mobilize.
That's my biggest concern. I mean, we've got the equipment in, it's still an active construction, so I understand that, but not having a safety surface down is the bigger concern.
Well, we have a damaged slide piece that needs to be either repaired or replaced. There's just things that need to be done, and yes, it's nice out, and kids are looking for something to do, and we have a shiny new playground that can't be used, so we'd like to get that completed. We also have Hannah Street. They came in and tore out Hannah Street to do the parking area and then just left it. And so Hannah Street's basically down to, I'd call it one lane, and not properly secured off. So we would like them to either finish that or better secure it. So
when's the last time you guys had communication with the project manager? Or
actually, this week's been pretty good of all things. Last week was not. So
I'll add too that just late this afternoon, the project manager did update us on the surface, and he said that the subcontractor that's going to install it is supposed to be here on the 14th. So that's
Saturday. Okay.
So as a next step,
Is that
should
Saturday?
we ask them why in writing? I mean, we found Old School under Old School Park. That was unexpected. It was a $250,000 change order, but we approved the change order, and they had Old School Park removed and replaced with compacted gravel within 48 to 72 hours. It wasn't a change order. We authorized a change order, and they've been paid for that, and it only took like 72 hours to turn that whole situation around. So it's not that. Should we ask them why?
I mean, they did similar things. They were the contractor on Culver's, and they would disappear and then come back. And they go do other jobs. And so when it's convenient for them, they'll come back and work on it. And it's just beyond frustrating.
Well, I think the big issue, the technicality, is whatever agreement we signed, where I believe you said it was supposed to be December 24th, or 2024, actually, they have until December of 2025 to complete the project.
The RFP and the approved bid had it of December 31st, 24. The AIA contract was changed to December 31st of 25. So they keep hiding behind, well, the contract says we have to the end of the year for substantial compliance. We would argue that that is not the bid that was either submitted or approved, and that that was clearly a clerical error based on what was submitted. And either way, shouldn't take you that long. It's
No,
just
I
not that big a project.
They did a great, I mean, I give credit where credit's due. That bathroom in the shelter went up, and the equipment's been put in quite quickly. It's just now, seems like the minute stuff is taking a little bit longer to get taken care of.
Well, our goal was to have the park closed for as little time as possible, realizing that people want to use it. And that goal has been, I think, violated in spades. And
We figure we easily
I
be done
don't
in
see where
June.
it's our fault, unless you have some information I don't. I think we ought to ask them why and have legal look at what the contract actually says.
Well, there's really not much recourse on it, so.
Well, it's
That's
an
it.
AIA contract. There's lots of recourse in those.
Well, I mean, I'd like you guys to try to reach out and see if we can get a commitment that's trying to be, I would love to see this thing open before the July 4th weekend. I think that's a reasonable expectation. And that's something they can
Would
do.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for
We'll
the update.
continue to
Appreciate
try.
it.
But yeah, I agree, July 4th should easily be done by July 4th.
Yeah, okay. Redevelopment Commission did meet. One item was on the agenda, basically stating, well, restating the, their
It's an
Funds
annual,
right.
it's an annual requirement by, that we inform the county auditor if we intend to pass through any excess TIF or not. Our TIF districts don't generate nearly anywhere near where it would be a threshold to do so, so.
Yeah, there's one item. Vernon Township Fire Committee did meet. It was a budget presentation and fiscal plan by Michael Reuter. So I know Chief Elder's here tonight to present the fire budget, so we'll have them up here in a few minutes. Metropolitan Police Board.
We did not meet.
Okay. Public Works.
Public Works did meet. So I think everybody knows, but the roundabout is currently under construction at 600 and 600. We will see on tonight's agenda updated sprinkler system quote for.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be talking about that one, so.
Okay, fair enough. We also made a recommendation for concrete trailhead at McCordsville connecting to the park.
Okay.
We approved a attachment for a Bobcat for a hydraulic high flow attachment. Made a recommendation for American pump repair for a custom control panel replacement. A recommendation to renew the Christopher Burke contract, which they assist with like our IDM and MS4 requirements. And then also a recommendation on updating the town signage in front of Town Hall 96 and Oleo, and replace the sign that the storm took out on Oleo, as well as including the police department dedication plaque.
Okay.
That was all.
All right, thank you. Architectural Review Committee.
Architectural Review Committee did meet on Tuesday, May 20th. On old business, we came back to Four Star's request for a recommendation on their product lineup on Stone Chase, which you'll see more of later tonight. We gave them some additional input on the elevations for their 80-acre lots, which are around 11,000 square foot lots, and their 65-foot lots, which are around 9,000 square feet lots, and approved the vast majority of the elevations that were submitted and conducted an anti-monotony review, which was not very monotonous. We also reviewed Fisher Homes' request for Lane Farms at Hampton Walk, which is really a separate PUD for the south section of Hampton Walk, beginning at the southern edge of their current Area D and extending down to 650. There are 4 sub-areas in there, A through D, with 55-foot wide lots in areas A and B, and 65-foot wide lots in areas C, and 80-foot wide lots in Area D. We reviewed the elevations for areas C and D and approved the vast majority of what we saw there. In areas A and B, we had substantially more questions, and I believe they're to return with those. Is that correct, Ryan? And the next meeting will be busy on June 17th. It will be needed.
All right, thank you, Dr. Burney. Plan Commission.
The Planning Commission did meet on May 20th. The old business was dealing with making a recommendation to approve the 2045 comprehensive plan that's on the agenda tonight. We also, for new business, we reviewed the PUD for Stone Chase, and that's also on the agenda for tonight, the town council meeting. And then there was 2 primary plots for Alexander Ridge and Creekside that were both approved. And we will be meeting next week, and it looks like an extensive agenda.
Bring a coffee pot.
We have had a few items fall off in the last 24 hours, so it's a little bit shorter, but it's still a lengthy agenda.
We might make the 10:30 deadline.
All right, thank you for those reports. Up next is the Vernon Township Fire Territory 2026 budget presented by Chief Mark Elder.
Good evening, Mark Elder, Fire Chief for Vernon Township Fire Department. What an interesting budget year so far. Obviously we use Michael Reuter SDU for our financial consultant, and when we started this in January, he gave us a number based on calculations that was available at the time. After the legislature got done, we got cut $1.2 million for what was projected to be for next year. Not only is that a $1.2 million cut from next year, but it's actually $506,000 less than what we're operating off this year. So we were going to hire 6 additional people next year. That's now off the table. So our budget before you tonight is for $6,300,000. Personnel services were able, fortunately, I'm thankful, we're able to keep what we have. We've budgeted for, personnel raises. We've budgeted for cost increases for contractual and services. But that's it. We're not able to add those 6 people. And I'd like to share, and I think you guys need to know, and I think the public needs to know, is that they legislatively cut our budget, but nothing we can do legislatively to cut the demand for services. Our run load at the end of May, our runs were up 7%, or I'm sorry, 9%. Of those, our EMS call volume, which those 6 people were going to be used to put in a second medic truck with a dedicated crew, our EMS call volume's up 14%. So we're going to make do. We're going to, make it work the best we can. But I have the budget before you tonight and would ask for your approval of it.
So one question I would have is, what would those 6 people cost in additional? What additional revenue would you need to be able to fund 6?
Just under $700,000.
So it's a $700,000
Yeah.
for 6 people.
How do you,
And that's just for, I'm sorry, Dr. Byrne, that's just for salaries. That doesn't include, the equipment. So you're probably talking another 10,000 to 15,000 there, so.
That's salaries per.
And insurance,
insurance.
yeah, all the benefits, salary package.
So you're looking probably more about 750.
50, yeah.
Yeah.
well, we'd like to support the Vernon Township Fire Department, and now you're looking to the county for proceeds from a 0.4%
That,
tax rate, is that?
that hasn't been set up yet, but that will be the process going forward.
That'll
How do
happen
you
in
foresee
27.
Yeah, and
our relationship changing as we go forward?
I am starting to attend county council, county commissioner meetings, establishing those relationships. The fire chiefs have had one meeting so far to try to come up with a game plan so that we're going to them as a unified voice for those requests. So that's about the best I can answer you right now.
Well, we're willing to pass an ordinance preventing or outlawing MVAs and residence fires and heart attacks, if that's any help.
They still happen. People still break the law. Even if you make it a law, they still break the law. So.
I suppose we could legislate addition of statin drugs to donuts in McCordsville. I don't know if that would help, but
In your discussions with the other fire chiefs in the county, what kind of impact do they see into their budgets? Something similar, more drastic, is it?
Because they operate under different format for budgeting, they haven't gotten their information back yet. But I would imagine it's going to be very similar.
All right, well, not much we can do other than to entertain a recommendation to the Vernon Township Board to approve the 2026 Vernon Township Fire Territory budget or reject it.
so move.
Second.
There's been a first and second to recommend to the Vernon Township Board to approve the Vernon Township Fire Territory's 2026 budget. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Consent agenda at this time. I'll entertain either a motion, a request to remove items, or an item for more discussion, or
I
Table, yeah.
request we remove the Ryan Fire Protection proposal from the consent agenda.
okay, so moved. We'll move that to old business. Ben? That has been removed.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the Ryan Fire Protection.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the Ryan Fire Protection proposal. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right, first item of old business is the Ryan Fire Protection proposal.
I was just looking at this and considering this building and its use, its size, occupancy, exits, and so on, and the historic nature of the existing sprinkler system, which has actually never been pressurized, to my knowledge, and then all of the contingencies in the revised contract from Ryan. It just struck me that these folks are predicting the future. They're putting all the contingencies in there of all the things that they know are likely to happen in this building. And it seems to me that with the cost, we could cap the water inflow outside the building and just go ahead and build out the building. The pipes can stay or leave depending on what the law may require. Signage might be required for occupants to know that the building is not sprinkled, but we would install a beefy smoke detection hardwired fire alarm system with loud sirens, loud enough that the occupants would want to leave if they went off, and insure the building for its replacement cost, which I think would be all cheap in relationship to trying to salvage this somewhat antiquated, questionable system that's likely to, as not, flood the building during testing, resulting potentially in the loss of the building by getting wet what we're trying to rebuild and rehabilitate as quickly as possible. I think the risks of using the system outweigh the benefits. And I propose that we do away with it.
I'm going to lean a little bit on our consultants and our fire chief here, because I am not a fire inspector or state marshal or anything like that. What I do understand is that in this type of building, the system is not required. However, with it being present, we would have to remove it. So there would be a demo cost to taking it out of here. I don't know what that would be, the offset, but Dr. Bernie's not wrong. We've had a system that has never been pressurized, and they put they're going to do a lot of, what we liked about Ryan over Corson was they're doing a lot of pre-testing, and frankly the recommendation is if we find problems, our recommendation is going to be don't put water in this thing. So that absolutely could be the end result, could be not using it in the first place, but.
I think Chief and I were trying to figure out who to go first. I'll speak to the contract really quick. So when they charge the system, the first time they charge it, they're going to charge it with air, and we're going to be able to use that to determine whether it has leaks or not. As a public use facility, and with the system already being here, we thought it was worth a try at trying to use the sprinkler system. This contract is also structured as in time and material not to exceed, so that in each step of this, if we need to change course, that is allowable by the structure of the contract, and that includes stopping work, demoing the system, and moving on, being a possibility, particularly after we try to charge it with air. I think Chief can speak to kind of what we can and can't do, but like Tim said, our understanding is that if it's here, it needs to be charged. If it's not going to be charged, it needs to be gone. Which stretches demolition past the confines of the current project, because as you look in here, we'd have to get into here to pull it all out and continue to disrupt other portions of the building. We would do that strategically, but it was part of the consideration.
So I'm very pro-fire prevention, obviously. You have the system in place, however, it's not truly a system. Town manager is correct that it's not a required system in this size of building. But again, if it would work, that would be great. However, I think you could file, if you decided to remove it, I think you could file for a variance with the state to only remove the sprinkler heads so that it doesn't give anybody the appearance, as well as the fire department connection, or if you're gonna leave it, not an insert system. That would require a state variance through the Fire and Building Safety Commission, which I wouldn't speak against, but those are I would say that should be considered. Now, they may not approve it. My gut feeling is they probably would, as long as you take everything out that's visible to the person not familiar with the building, giving them the false sense of security of, oh, I got a sprinkler system here. and we really don't.
And to be clear, sprinkler systems aren't to save the building.
No, the sprinkler system is not designed to, there are some systems in the country, in big warehouses, they're actually designed because they flow a lot of water that would run this building. These types of systems are really designed to keep the fire in check, under control for people that are inside to vacate the building and give time for the fire department to show up, to not let it get too far out of control so we don't have to deploy as many resources as well to extinguish the fire completely.
So have we talked to our insurance company to see the difference between insuring this building with or without a active sprinkler system?
We have not, because we had the contract to pressurize it on here, so we didn't look at that other option, but walking through it is an option. This just came up tonight.
Just out of curiosity, if they denied the request for the variance, what would be the demo cost? Would it exceed? I mean, just a rough estimate. Would it come close to what
No idea.
this additional quote is?
I'm trying to do some quick math.
It sounds like per the contract you have in front of you, we can test it and see where we're at and then make the decision whether to proceed or not. So we could do the testing portion
Correct.
and then make this
Yeah,
decision.
and so this is an up to amount.
Yes.
This is a not to exceed. We had to change it because we had to move some heads and whatnot due to the new layout. And so that wasn't it. You had approved this last month, and then we realized they based their numbers off of the old design, not the new one. So we had them. It was a big enough change when they had to do the changes for the new design that we brought it back, which is why we're having this discussion tonight.
Well, my only concern is, okay, if we say, oh, we're not gonna do this, and then we're gonna take it out, let's say this is $29,000 to get it up to speed, but it's $40,000 to take it out, and the insurance costs are gonna go up because we don't have a sprinkler system, because we've always had one.
Well, I will
Yeah.
say
But you know, it's off spite your face.
there's one installed but not hooked up.
Operational.
So, and that was brought up in our annual fire inspection, and they were holding off on it because we said we were renovating the building. So we have to take some action one way or the other.
And I'll say that the 29,000 here presumes, in essence, that the system is usable as it is. So while we look at demo cost, to your example, we're at 29,000 now. If we go to 40,000 to demo, but it could be, if we have half the lines in here need to be repaired,
Yeah.
that's, so after the testing, this was the plan all along. We tried to put ourselves in a position to have to not need to come back every single step of the way so that we could honor the timeline that we're on with the construction as well. So we assumed a best case scenario that the system would be usable and built out the quote. And so from there, but what we have committed to all along and is understood with Ryan Fire Protection is we're going to do the pressurized air test, and then we're going to come up with a course of action. We hope it's this course of action, but if it needs to be different, then we'll be back.
Well, I
Is
think
that,
we need to know that information
I'm kind of talking,
first.
yeah, I mean, this is what we've discussed in a way, but I want to make sure I'm clarifying that in the right way for you.
But I think Dr. Bernie's point is, you want to see the results of the pressurized test
Well,
before you make it.
their
right?
contract speaks volumes with the lack of guarantees, warranties, and reassurances,
Yeah.
assuming the air pressurized test is good. If the air pressurized test is good, they're going to charge it up, and then they're going to take it apart, at least in the furthest section from the incoming line, and inspect for organic material. If that's found, they're going to take it all apart. And then there's no repressurized air test prescribed, and I don't even know if our insurance policy has a rider for water damage. If the whole place gets hosed, we have no place to go. And that's a worst case.
What did Public Works say when this was brought up? You guys remember?
We didn't get this in depth.
It didn't
on
go
this.
this in depth.
What does the testing cost?
I don't know. Ron did most of this for us.
Yeah, I don't know that we fully delineated that as much as we tried to get scopes to as much apples to apples as you can.
Yeah.
because they all have a different methodology and approach to it.
Just say a few $1,000s, it's not gonna be.
Yeah.
It's your smallest cost of this whole project. The work of them actually coming in and changing heads and swapping things out and connections is the expense.
Yeah.
And what's the time? It's something quick, right?
As soon as we can, they're waiting on them right now.
Yep.
This is taking significantly longer to get quotes, apples to apples, and it lined up than we had ever anticipated it would. So,
Well, there's nothing wrong with putting air in it, really. If it passes that, and then they want to pressurize it, I just think we ought to have somebody standing under
Oh, we
every sprinkler head
absolutely
with
will.
a radio, or a cell phone calling in, like, turn it off,
Yeah.
And I'm sure
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Stephanie or I can call Brian Breeze and ask a few questions. He will be in. We can ask some questions about the impacts of having or not having a sprinkler system and what the cost of insurance would be for total replacement and all that. I'd imagine it'd be very similar because, again, the sprinkler system is not saving the building, it's just getting people out and slowing the process down.
And in the meantime, you can be getting a cost for the demolition if it has to be taken out. Because right now, we can't compare that to anything that you pointed out.
Well, the other thing is, what's the future purpose of this building, right? Is to be the testing and lab center for the wastewater treatment plant, which would tell me, if you're gonna have labs and testing, you want to have some form of sprinkler system. I'm just, if I'm going to have,
We could pressurize it and it would be fine too.
yeah,
Everything's new, it's
I
just
think-
been sitting there for.
Right.
assumptions until we know exactly what the system's still. So,
Just out of curiosity, when it was installed originally, did they do a pressure test on it?
Anyone here? Were you here?
I was here, but I don't remember that.
No idea.
Okay.
No idea.
It's Jeff Silly.
all right, so what kind of action do you guys want to take? Do you want to approve this contingent upon the results of the pressure test? Do you want to deny it? Do we want to set a certain amount so they can only go up the pressure test?
Since this isn't up to amount, I think I'm comfortable making a recommendation to approve it. And, I mean, if the pressure test does not go correctly, then we'll be back here, but, so I'll make a recommendation to approve the Ryan fire protection proposal.
And with our understanding, we'll do the pressure test and then,
We'll provide that report right
Provide
away and
that.
make sure that you all have a chance to see that before we would take any next steps, even if it turns out good. We'll make a commitment to sharing that with all of you.
Right. So you're making the motion.
I already made the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a first and second to approve the Ryan Fire Protection contract for up to, not to exceed $29,364 with the understanding that a pressure test will be run first and those results will be given to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay,
Nay. Roll call, please.
Greg Brewer,
Yay.
Brian Burney,
nay.
Scott Jones,
Yeah.
John Price.
Yay.
Thank you.
Now, can we start the paperwork for the variance? How long would that take?
We'll look up that variance timeline and make sure we're tracking that alongside this.
Yeah. Because if we get there, I think that would probably be significantly less than tearing out everything.
and as we know, there's no guarantees on the variance either.
Right, but that's why you get it started as quickly as you can, and that will help give you an answer, right?
I do have a quick question on that too. So we have a state release on the construction. Does that need to be amended if we decide to go a different way?
We have a state release right now that we're looking at all of those implications right now, regardless of which direction we
Okay.
go.
One note for the next item, 7A, we published the public hearing but did not hold it last time, so there needs to be a public hearing prior to the second reading.
Okay, well, then we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance number 051325A, an ordinance adding a stop sign at Cooper's Lane in Brookville. So at this time, anybody wants to come up to remonstrate or be in support of, or no opinion? This is your time to do it. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Any discussion on ordinance number 051325A? If not, entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 051325A.
First, is there a
Second.
second? There's a second. All those in favor of ordinance number 0513?
Motion by to approve.
Not sure what.
We'll start over. There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 051325A, stop sign addition on Cooper's Lane in Brookville. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. We also have ordinance. We have 3 ordinance here, all pertain to the same topic, a non-reverting investment fund that is currently being held at Trust Indiana. These are ordinance number 051325F, ordinance number 051325G, and ordinance number 051325H. I'm going to open the public hearing right now for anybody who's for, against, or neutral on us having these funds. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. At this time, just open up for any discussion, questions by council. If not, we'll have to have 3 separate motions for each ordinance.
I move we approve ordinance 051325F.
Second.
There's been a first and second for ordinance number 051325F, an ordinance establishing a non-reverting investment fund. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
I move we approve ordinance 051325G.
Second.
There's been a first and second for ordinance number 051325G to approve, an ordinance establishing a non-reverting investment fund. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
I move we approve ordinance 051325H.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 051325H, an ordinance establishing a non-reverting investment fund. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay. Take a breath. All right, next item for business is a new business, and this is a petition for annexation of property into the town's corporate limits. The documents provided are Holy Cross Lutheran Church annexation petition. Is somebody here?
Yep, I will welcome Ann Hammond up from
All right.
Holy Cross to make a presentation, and just note this is just the first step in a multi-month process.
Yeah, so I'm Ann Hammond with Holy Cross. We are a Lutheran school and church just about 2 miles from here, just across the Lawrence Township line, and we have purchased the property here, a 40-acre property at 7890 North 475 West. We purchased it in January, and we are petitioning for annexation into the town as a first step in our partnership with McCordsville. So, look forward to presenting additional details at next month's meeting.
All right, any questions for the petitioner?
I wanted to talk about signs. You anticipate a wooden sign of a semi-permanent nature. Have you looked at our sign ordinance? Or Ryan, you want to give us a brief synopsis on that type of signage?
Yes, we have talked about that. The town allows temporary signs, and the church is likely going to seek an extension of the time period for those signs, and we anticipate that being worked out and worked through over the next several months as we do the zoning for this property.
I just need to sign my name. Well, look forward to your full-blown presentation when you guys are ready to go through the process.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
Awesome. Okay. This is, next order of business is a GMP amendment for the community center. Who's taking this?
Audra is coming up.
Okay.
This one? Yeah.
All right. So back again, like we have been, we came for town hall a few months ago. We have been working through a very similar process with the community center and the renovation of the volunteer fire department location. And so we'll walk through where we are with that project. So you go to the next slide. So just, we've done completion of design, bidding, and we're continuing to do some work with FF&E coordination. So some key scope items to remind you about what we're doing, and we have some drawings and some things later that we'll show you, but we are getting the big community room space as well as a smaller auxiliary meeting space. There will be specific display areas incorporated into this for the volunteer fire department and display of some of their memorabilia. We've been coordinating closely with them on those pieces, and we also will be housing our parks department in this building. So with that, what we're going to do here is very similar to what we did with Town Hall. We're establishing the GMP during this meeting, which is the maximum price for that project. We'll go through a value engineering process as well as an ongoing scope refinement process, and we'll also start shop drawings and procurement with this approval. So when we look at the numbers, our estimated total project cost is currently sitting at about 2.5 to 2.6, which is admittedly a little higher than where we'd like to be. But again, we're going to walk through a VE process. I will note that on Town Hall here, we've been able to move about $100,000 into our contingency fund, which will roll back out to the town at the end of that project, assuming we don't need to use it for any other purposes. So our GMP cost over there, which includes all of our bid amounts, the CM fee and the general conditions, is $2,290,488 to read that in full form. We've always got those auxiliary project costs that are out there. Furniture, in this case, we also have the kitchen equipment, which will be going in here, AV and IT and security, and some additional site construction that we're doing with this location. So we're going to be looking at areas like the lighting, the storefronts and the glazing, and some of our finishes packages when we're looking at the VE options. And our goal is to bring this cost back down into about $2.4 to $2.5 million range. So some additional information to walk you through. This is how those costs break out right now in kind of those large sums, large lump or groups, I should say. And so again, this we're kind of trying to follow the same format and everything that we present. This is very similar to what we showed during the town hall construction. So you can see kind of how we're chunking each of these out and where those costs sit in those buckets.
I'd like to interject a little bit here. So we're a little higher than original estimates on both this project and that project. To be very clear on this one too, this does not include the Methodist Church parking lot at this time, because that's going behind it. And then we did approve design for the small building out front for contracts, but we're most likely going to get it designed and ready to bid and tuck that in the 26 project or budget. Sorry. So that's not included in here, and we'll see where we land. Because we're over on both these projects, we may have to push the Methodist Church project into the 26 budget as well. We'll see. I'd rather not. As this flushes out, we do have different pots. I was hoping to have kind of a revenue versus expense layout of where money's coming from. Some of that's dependent on the park project. Obviously, we had contingency on Old School Park. Some of the intent was to pay a little of the community center out of the park bond. We don't know what's going to be left of the park bond at this point because the contingency was rather high on the Old School Park. So I think there's still going to be a couple $100,000 there. We had CCD set aside. We had some CDIT set aside. So there's different pools of funds we're taking some of this stuff out of until some of these other projects shake out and we get some costs on these other aspects of it. Those are not included. So getting the main community center built is important. We did add a little bit of pavement scope because we bought that property, because that does bleed into the other property to the north.
Yeah,
So
and we can.
I just want to set that expectation. This is not all of that yet. And we're trying to get prices, but we don't want to overcommit ourselves because we're using a lot of our general fund cash, which was the intent, but we still have to operate daily too, so we don't want to go too low on our general fund cash. So we're trying to find the different pools of funds to offset some of these costs.
Well, it is a very detailed contract, and it does speak well to communications and what types of updates and reports are to be made and so on. But it does ask for the appointment of an owner's representative. And if the time comes to ask why, I want to know who the lead is. Is it Tim? Is it Mark? Is it Stan?
It's our
I-
owner's rep.
I was actually hired as your odors rep
Yeah,
for this
she's our
project.
Waypoint Strategies is
Well, I
our
mean-
owner's rep.
Who's our person in town for this?
Or she's communicating with us, Tim. on the
Yeah,
project.
my
Yeah,
direct communications on these projects
So
are,
Tim is the lead on town management,
Yes,
like
yeah,
Mark is the lead on the park.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did not hire one. We assumed at the time the park project was a fairly small and easy project to manage. Ended up regretting that
Well,
decision.
I'm just looking, you know, that
No offense.
if it's like, what, the end of, I don't know, 26 or 27, the contract timeline, you know, it's got various contingencies, but it's not there, and we start asking why, who should we ask?
got it.
We ask you and we ask Tim.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, and you guys still feel I mean, I'm looking at the timeline here of this. You're still looking at
Yeah, we can go.
completion by 11.
So that just cuts off to make this readable. We are still anticipating completion in the November, December timeframe, but I wouldn't take November 10th, 2025 as the hard and fast.
Well, it says like 154 days.
Yeah. And so we're gonna, I mean, the general contractor or the construction manager that we're working with on the community center is the same one we're working with here. And they do a lot of due diligence and upfront work so that when they come in fast. They're currently tracking ahead of schedule on Town Hall, which, given
Is a
lead
problem.
times and product supply pipeline issues these days, is impressive. And so we're still saying November, December this year for this to be done. I simply cut this off here so that the rest of this was a little bit more readable. When we got a little bigger, it got a little less digestible on a screen.
Yeah, I just don't want to see this.
And that
project going
project's-
into
that-
May of 2026. you
That
know.
project's a lot easier because there's nobody in that building.
Yes.
So they can go full force. Here, them being a month ahead's a problem because we haven't ordered the furniture yet, and we don't have a gas line to the building, and we haven't figured out what we're doing with sprinkler systems, so now they're waiting on us. They won't have
Yeah.
that problem over there.
Okay.
Yep. So, yes, and I hear you loud and clear that we do not want to be doing that.
is-
And they don't want to be here at that time either. I will say they are mutually motivated by that factor.
Well, two motivations I have. We have our Parks Department's up and going now, and
Correct.
they need their own space and start running activities and events. You know, I think
Yes.
we do yoga, we do line dancing, all kinds of things that are being done in here. That really is what that's designed for. But number two, there's a lot of people who are still looking for rental spaces and event spaces, and I think that's, you know, the purpose of that is to have a legacy building that can, you know, I like to pay tribute to the heritage of the people who have come before. That building's pretty iconic for this town.
It is.
It means a lot to a lot of people, so we want to make sure that it's open to the community, that the heritage and history is being seen by people who use it, and also that it starts to get the full, you know, we're getting some return on our investment. It's never going to be paid for itself as rental, but the fact that people are using it and it's going to be a center for all types of things, I think is a very good thing, so.
It has been our goal to host our holiday events all over at that building, so.
No pressure. Got it. No, we're good. If we continue to go, I think some of the ways that we're laying this out, so Ryan, if you want to. So I wanted to give a quick overview of what we're doing, just for the purposes of bringing everybody up to speed. So here you've got the blue in the middle, which is your primary building and an out front plaza. We have a rendering of that we'll show you. Then you can see on both sides we've got parking. The larger parking that you see there is the one that moves to the north, and that's where we've been able to expand our footprint a little bit with the town's acquisition of that building to the north. So we'll be contemplating the rest of this up here. We've done some general site layouts to make sure that this will allow the flow that we want with that north building. But we will address that in those separate contracts and as a separate project. But it has allowed us to move that parking further to the north, with north being this end over here of the plan. Next one. So this gives you an idea of what the outside's gonna look like. Again, it's a concept rendering. The part you see closest to us helps to preserve some of the signage that was there and the memorial that is currently established out there. The middle part is a turf area to kind of break up the concrete, provide some green space. When we talked with parks, their summer camps, having a place to kind of queue and gather kids, being a really great place. And then you see off in the distance of that some picnic tables and some outside gathering space. And we've used the storefront windows across the front to replace the garage doors that are currently there with some lights that'll be overhead on those. So continuing to kind of do that nod, but also modernize the building and bring it forward for the purposes.
One of the things you might notice on the rendering, we have, that shows a metal roof. That's something we did cut. The roof's actually in fairly good shape.
Right.
And that was $80,000+. So we're gonna leave that roof for now, and down the road on our capital projects plan, if we need to replace this roof, we'll probably replace it with a metal roof.
Yep.
But we felt that that was an easy thing to cut to bring some costs down at this time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if we keep going, doing a quick look, you get your large community room, a warming kitchen that sits between it and a small meeting room. That will have an opening out into the large community room. We are keeping that a warming kitchen. There's zero food prep in there. It's solely for storage so that we stay in compliance with, or actually out of the need for a health department compliance. And then Parks Department offices, the rest of that space, you see the restrooms there. And I'll just point out really quickly, but I'm gonna have to step away from the microphone to do it. The spaces that we are using to display are there, where they're going, and then to the north of there. So here, and then there's a display here that faces in the small meeting room and is displayed here.
Great.
And the volunteer fire folks have seen this and like it?
They have. I sat down last week and spent an evening with the volunteer fire department, and they really loved what they saw and those opportunities. And if we switch to the next page, what I think is the last one, you can see here where we're doing some unique things, particularly in the large community room, to bring a nod again to the history of the building. So the layout in the large community room contains this grid-like pattern, but those are actually ladders that will be wood ladders that'll be up in there. Some of them will hold acoustical tiles, and then we'll also have some of those red lamps shining through them. So you can see these sort of fixtures here are all ladders, and then the slots that you see in between them are both lights and HVAC diffusers. You'll see that we're outfitting the kitchen, the warming kitchen, with some commercial style equipment and a large ice maker, which is at the request of the Parks Department for all of their uses in there as well. Great. I think that was it.
Awesome.
So I'm happy to answer any other questions, but I wanted to give you an overview why we were also asking for that approval of the GMP.
Yep, and that's just for that's the AIA contract for 2.29.
Yes, $2,290,000 plus.
The large contracts either have been approved or will come back to you.
Correct.
So tonight, we just need a approval for President Brewer to sign the contract?
Actually, I think it's set up for me to sign it, so just approval for me to sign it.
I move we approve a signature on the AIA contract for the community center as amended by the town manager or town council president.
Second?
It's been a first and second for the town manager or the town council president to sign the AIA contract for the community center. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I like the ladder thing.
I think it's
That's
cool.
pretty cool. I think that'll be neat. Oh, yeah, this is just a first reading. I can't believe we have to do this, but this is an ordinance amending Chapter 32 to include a waiver of fees by the town of McCordsville on town projects.
Yep, this was requested when we were waiving the fees for these projects. This just puts an ordinance that projects that are related to the town, so infrastructure projects where utilities have to relocate, building projects for the town, or anything that's town-related that we basically be paying ourselves, or we required someone to move for us, that we can waive those fees, and we don't have to come back every time. So it's just town-related.
And it's just a first reading, so no action will be taken. We'll do a public hearing next month.
We'll publish it and do a public hearing for next
Okay.
time.
All right, any questions or thoughts? All right, well, moving on. Next order of business is Resolution 061025A, a resolution to adopt a new comprehensive plan for the town of McCordsville. Ryan? This is like a 12-year project for you finally coming.
To the front, yes. We, as you know, have been working on this for quite some time. We're pleased to have Rose here to present this, and then we'll be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Ryan. You've had an opportunity to view the document. It was recommended for approval by the Plan Commission, so we're just doing a quick overview of the plan. Today, I'm Rose Scoville. I'm a senior planner with Rundell Ernstberger Associates in Indianapolis. I have been the project manager for the past 8 months on this project, replacing the original project manager. A comprehensive plan is the vision for the future of the community and the steps that are needed to make that vision a reality. Well, it is not a regulation itself. It's adopted by resolution as policy. It provides the basis for land use recommendations that will come in the form of an updated zoning ordinance or your current zoning ordinance and subdivision control regulations. And it becomes the nexus between the future vision and the regulation of property moving forward. The state requires 3 things of comprehensive plans. One is a statement of objectives for the future development of the jurisdiction. That is the purpose of Chapter 1 of the plan. It requires a statement of policy for the land use development of the jurisdiction, and that's Chapter 8, including the development patterns map, which is the future land use map. And then thirdly, a statement of policy for the development of public ways, places, land, structures, and utilities. And that is covered over the course of a couple of chapters in the plan, notably Chapter 2 for transportation, Chapter 5 for public spaces, and Chapter 7 for town administration and utilities. So if you want to go on. The process that we went through began with discovery, both quantitative and qualitative analysis and information collecting about the community and desires and what people wanted. Took that information and moved into Community Planning Week, which included developing the vision for the future of the plan, and then moved into the framework plan, which is all of the components that make up the parts of the plan. And then action is the final documents and the adoption process, where we are in the middle of right now. So the plan is laid out with an executive summary, and then the vision, goals and policies, the plan elements, and then a series of appendices to support other work in the plan. The vision and principles chapter, we're going to cover just high level both the vision and the guiding principles, because those are the basis of the entire comprehensive plan. So McCordsville is a welcoming and charming town with an active town center, local businesses, desirable schools, good healthcare access, and quality housing options connected by a complete street network that provides access to regional destinations. And this is really what the community is striving to be for in 2045, or roughly 20 years from now. So the principles that should guide all development decisions in the community is accessibility for people of all ages and abilities, that development contributes to a sense of place, making McCordsville special as a place of its own, that development is or will be connected through a planned network of paths and streets so that people don't have to go out to the major roads to be able to get between neighborhoods, Development standards are easy to understand and have a positive impact on shaping the community. Environmentally sensitive and natural areas are protected, preserved, and featured as community assets. And that relates to parks and open spaces being woven throughout the community and providing gathering space for the community. Industrial uses are sufficiently buffered from residential areas, both physically and visually. While McCordsville has historically been a residential community, there is balancing of tax base and creating opportunities, but we also understand that sometimes industrial uses can be incompatible with residential areas, and want to make those as compatible as possible. And then development having a designated center or place where residents and visitors can gather. So from that, we have goals in a number of topic areas: economic development, transportation, housing and neighborhoods, public space, town identity, utilities and public safety, and land use. And the largest chapter is land use, which is understandable for a comprehensive plan that deals primarily with land use and how it relates to transportation, economic development, and quality of place. So the land use map is based on place types, and we use place types rather than land uses because most of the time people experience places, not land use. They're like, this is a great downtown. This neighborhood makes me feel welcome and safe. That's different than saying, oh, what a great residential land use. So there can also be multiple uses within the same place type, and you're seeing that with the development of McCord Square and some other places where you do have mixed use that's either horizontally or vertically mixed. It also connects more to the transportation needs than land use alone. So the next slide is the development patterns map, and this has been reviewed extensively over time and modified to include a lot of input. Basically preserves McCord Square as a town center, understands the Depot Street area and Old Town as important areas, identifies a few other places that need to be master planned to be more coordinated development, and sets aside some area for industrial growth as well as some commercial corridors. So then each section of the plan also has action plans that have some key projects that have been identified with staff and committees along the way. And the implementation plan includes those action steps, the responsible party, and kind of a priority in terms of timeline. With a 20-year plan, some things are more immediate than others, some are longer term, and so that gets laid out. The projects have a description of the project, estimated cost if it's known. Some of the projects the town's been working on for a long time, and Ryan and Mark have numbers for, and others are more uncertain at this time. So when we knew numbers, we included them. And in some cases, there's metrics. In other cases, those may be added to the plan as you move along, because the plan should be a living document that you work through. On the transportation side, there's the regional thoroughfare plan, or there's the street types, which include regional thoroughfares, crosstown boulevards, and neighborhood connectors. And those are the road types and purposes that are more connected to the place types and are ideals to reach for as you plan new development. But then there's, so you want to advance. So that's the street types map and gives some framework around what those should be like. But on a day-to-day basis, engineering really needs to be able to look at functional classification, which is the next map, And we did explain in the plan the difference between the INDOT, Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization functional classification system and the local functional classification system. They're not always the same, but both are important. And it's helpful for you to understand for grant purposes which you're using when and why. So the functional classification map also includes some proposed projects and new road segments as well as roundabouts. And that is the majority of the plan. So we are in the final stages of the planning process. As I mentioned earlier, the plan has been reviewed by the Plan Commission and certified to you with a recommendation to adopt. And so tonight you will consider it. Because it's by resolution, it can be adopted on first reading. If you pass, then Ryan and Tim will file it with the county recorder and it becomes the comprehensive plan for the community. If you choose, you may return it to the Plan Commission with specific revision recommendations, and the Plan Commission has 60 days to respond.
Thank you. And I know many of us have seen this presentation several times. Dr. Price probably more than anybody at Plan Commission. Any questions?
I'm speaking in favor of adopting the plan and don't want to send it back to Plan Commission, but there is one discrepancy that we need to work out, perhaps with legal advice. It regards the statement on the last sentence of what is a comprehensive plan. And it says, after the plan is adopted, it must be recorded with the county recorder. That's a statement in the comprehensive plan. Our resolution, which we're going to pass, says we will place one copy of the comprehensive plan on file in the office of the county recorder. As a practical matter, the county recorder records documents. They don't keep files. But the language in our resolution, as was pointed out by Mrs. Copeland in my correspondence with her, that it's exactly what Series 500 state law says. So our resolution is word for word, but the comprehensive plan says it has to be recorded. If it's recorded, there are specific things that have to be done, such as any personal identifiers have to be removed. The author who wrote it, which would be Mrs. Copeland for purposes of this, as she says, needs to be identified. And if it's recorded, it needs to be recorded with identifiers so that anybody seeking to do business in McCordsville, seeking to own real estate in McCordsville, wanting to know about McCordsville, etc., it pops up in a search. Things are recorded according to property owners in the recorder's office, or property owners. So like if somebody wanted to find my house, they would search my name, not the address. So it's a little bit problematic how you identify a comprehensive plan that's recorded. And Mrs. Copeland goes on to say, we don't need to actually record it. If that were the case, the statute would specifically state such.
Yeah.
Well, there's no place to put it in the recorder's office unless it's recorded. We do need to place one there, and I see no harm with doing both, but there are some hoops that need to be jumped through to actually record a document. It's not just paying the fee. You have to make some identifiers on the document and make it searchable in digital media. Anyhow, presumably we'll keep a copy here and put it on our website and it'll be readily available and blah, blah, blah. But I'm suggesting that we do both rather than change the language in the comprehensive plan that says we have to record it, which conflicts with our attorney's advice, which says we don't have to record it, which kind of conflicts with state law, which says we have to place it in the recorder's office. Well, it's not like you put it on the table where there's magazines. They either record it or they don't, otherwise it's not there. So
The explanation.
we need to resolve this, and I'm just pointing it
I
out.
brought that up in the staff meeting today, and again, our attorney who's not here, but Jewel from Taft will tell us. Beth cited Indiana Code 36-7-4-509B that says the comprehensive plan is not effective for a jurisdiction until it has been approved by a resolution of its legislative body, which we're discussing tonight. After approval by resolution of the legislative body of the unit, it is official for each unit that approves it. Upon approval of the comprehensive plan by the legislative body, the clerk of the legislative body shall place one copy of the comprehensive plan on file in the office of the county recorder. So as Beth said, state legislature is pretty specific, and if they say they want it recorded, they will state that they want it recorded. But which route would you, I mean,
Well, I agree with what Beth has indicated there, because the 500 series does not specifically indicate that it needs to be recorded, and I don't know how you would record it.
how you would file it without recording it, right?
Right, and so, Dr. Brennan, you made a great point as to where would it go, and that's the problem with the recorder's office. The whole purpose of filing with the recorder's office is to find the individual location where all the comprehensive plans for a community, so everyone in Hancock County is going to be in the recorder's office. And my guess is that they do have a file in the other communities I've worked with, up in Hamilton County, up in Boone County. The recorder's office does have an area where they keep the comprehensive plan, the new ones. And the reason why they do that is so that when a developer comes in, they are easily tracked down and found and can refer to it. In addition, they can contact staff and work it that way. I think a great analogy to that would be, normally you technically file stamp and officially file with the clerk's office pleadings when you deal with legal actions. However, when you talk about an eminent domain case, you create a lis pendens notice, and that just remains on file with the clerk of the court, just so that anybody who is looking at potentially purchasing property can go look at the lis pendens file. It is not on the document, it's the recorded documents themselves. For the courts, it is a file that's kept by that office. Now, I don't know I was trying to scroll through the document to see the page where you're referring.
Would you agree I can pass the page down to you, it's the last sentence on this page. Would you agree that we could change after the plan is adopted to, after the plan is adopted, the clerk treasurer shall place one copy of the comprehensive plan on file in the office of the county recorder, instead of stating it must be recorded with the county recorder?
Yeah, and I believe
Since the
that-
plan is discrepant with state law?
And I think so that is not.
And if it's
technically-
editorial,
Yeah, but that's not exactly, that's not a change to the comprehensive plan in its structure of how you're setting up the different areas, or the road plans, or the zonings. That is really a scrivener's text change that's just making comply with the statute. So I think you can make that change in the document and then move forward that way.
thank you.
So your recommendation is to approve the resolution with the last sentence being changed. It must be filed with the county recorder. Is that?
Placed it, exactly what the state law says.
Okay.
So we make our plan reflect state law language.
Yeah,
And do what it says.
Yeah.
And to make it easier, instead of putting all that language in, one thing you may be able to do is just say, after the plan is adopted, it must be filed with the county recorder in compliance with the Indiana code.
Okay.
You good with that? So unless there's more discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve as stated.
So move.
Second.
It's been a first and second to approve resolution 061025A, a resolution of the McCordsville Plan Commission certifying to the town council a recommendation to approve the McCordsville's amended comprehensive plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Just want to say thank you. It's been a long process, but we got through it, and we have a new comprehensive plan. And thanks to REA and especially Rose, who picked this up midstream and carried it to the end. So we appreciate it.
Now, next step is
UDO is up next.
yeah, zoning updates. Have fun, Ryan.
Really feel the love there, Greg. Thanks.
It should be a uniformly pleasant experience.
Yes. Okay, well, next up is another resolution, Resolution 061025B, a resolution to adopt the Stone Chase fiscal plan. Do we have anybody speaking on that?
I'm happy to answer any questions. This is our standard annexation fiscal plan format as of a few months ago when we went over to Crow for all these types of documents. So,
Well, I think we cleared up today that we're not going to provide street lights or water services, since one place it says the town's providing them, another place it says citizens are providing the water and developers are providing street lighting. Also, isn't the annexation plan where we assign the property to a voting district?
that's in the annexation ordinance.
Okay, so we need to put that, I don't think it's in the annexation
It
ordinance.
is.
We need to put in there that's District 2.
It is in there.
I don't think it's in that.
They might not want to be in that district once they figure out who their councilman is.
I think that's your district, Greg.
I know. It's
It is right
my
here.
district.
Dr. Burney, look at the screen there. You can see it is clearly assigned to District 2.
Yeah, okay, that's what we need.
Right.
Great.
Any discussion on the fiscal plan? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the fiscal plan for annexation of the
Stone Chase.
Stone Chase property to annex plus or minus 80 acres. I think it's in the resolution where it has only 40 acres.
Well, the ordinance, we're doing just the fiscal plan.
Yeah, yeah,
Next is the
but there's
ordinance
a,
annex.
there's a legal thing here, which, on one of them, one of the legal descriptions is missing. Let me see if it's on the annexation. It must be on the resolution because it's not on the annexation.
The annexation ordinance legal description is on the screen, and you'll notice it's parcel 1 and parcel 2
Yeah, those
combining
two
for 80
parcels,
acres.
each is 40. I think on the other, it just has 40 acres listed, but it says 80 in the heading, and the second legal is missing.
In the resolution,
Yeah, that.
it won't have any legal description in it. It's not
Just
supposed
describe an
to.
ordinance number, which will be.
Oh,
talking
maybe
about
it's,
next.
maybe it's in the PUD then. The other place the legal is, one's missing. Okay. So I move we adopt it.
You move to approve resolution 061025B. Dr. Bernie?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
It's been a first and second to approve resolution to adopt the Stone Chase fiscal plan. That is resolution 061025B. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Next up is the ordinance, ordinance number 051325D, an ordinance to annex in plus or minus 80 acres along the west side of County Road 500. The public hearing was held at Plan Commission.
It was.
Okay, so this is
Well,
the
I'm sorry, the annexation public hearing was held here 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is second reading, and so Dr. Brown, I think those were the concerns you had, were the parcels listed in the ordinance.
Yeah,
Correct?
I think, yeah, they're
Okay.
correct in this.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance 051325D.
Second?
There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 051325D, an ordinance annexing certain territory of the town of McCordsville, placing the same within the boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the town of McCordsville.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, last order of new business, item of new business is ordinance number 061025A, an ordinance to adopt the Stone Chase PUD, second reading.
There have been a few updates since the Plan Commission I'm happy to go through. We also have the petitioner present who's prepared to make a presentation if you'd like to see it.
Okay, what are some of those updates, Plan Commission?
The updates from Plan Commission. There was a few minor adjustments to the rental language that's in the PUD. It now more closely aligns what we have traditionally seen in terms of rental language in PUDs. Number 2, we did increase the mounting height along 500 West from 3 feet to 4 feet. That was a request at Plan Commission. We have provided some additional tree screening, tree plantings along the north property line. Again, something that was requested by the Plan Commission. There is a limit that 25% of the homes only 25% of the homes to be less than 2,000 square feet. Some right to farm language was included, which has been edited by Beth earlier this week. And then lastly, that the 5 home sites adjoining the neighboring horse farm would be limited to single-story structures. So all of those items have been incorporated into the PUD, and we're happy to answer any questions on that. And again, petitioner's here to speak on Forest Park's behalf, should we need that.
This is where the legal description, I think, is incomplete. So where it says legal description Exhibit A, it has a legal description containing 40 acres, and then it says consisting in 80 acres more or less. So it's omitting the second parcel, legal?
No, it's just a bit of a formatting issue, probably between when we redlined this and when we accepted all the edits. Well, hold on.
Well, is the development 40 acres or 80 acres?
It is 80 acres. Hold on.
Okay,
So-
it says 40 acres in one sentence, the next sentence says 80 acres. Which is
Yes,
it?
I'm getting there.
So in Exhibit A, as I look at it, which looks to be on page 8 of this PUD.
Yeah, that.
It's got the parcel 1 and then parcel 2. Normally they're spaced apart a little bit,
Yeah.
so you can see the delineation a little bit better. These are kind of next to each other. So the
Oh, I
first
see, it's
parcel-
in parcel 1 above.
Yeah, so parcel 1 is the 40 acres more or less, and then parcel 2 is right there after, also commencing at the point of the south line.
Okay, I didn't see parcel 1 separate from parcel 2 below.
Just a format issue.
Okay, yeah.
Any other concerns or questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm wondering if is the petitioner here? I have a couple questions for you.
Have some answers for you.
Okay, one of the things that's particularly annoying as a resident adjacent to a building out area is the local roads and streets are torn up for some period of time, and they're left until the end of the project. You have an agreement here to widen County Road 500 and to make an entrance with signage that says of McCordsville, and to do some mounding and to make some passing blisters and so on, and you're going to bring in utilities. So my question is, are you willing to stipulate that these things will be done first or as soon as practicable, according to engineering here on the roads, rather than left torn up, broken up until the bitter end of the last sale?
Yeah, I would.
Or some period of time at which it's a drop dead date and it's going to be done by then. There's walking paths, sidewalks, utility poles, whatever, passing blisters, that it won't be left as a ditch beside the road all winter, and it'll be taken care of in a timely fashion before you pull permits.
Building permits, yeah. So
And
Just to
willing
make the record clear, if you had to identify yourself for the record so that.
for sure. I'm Cheyenne Hoffa. I'm the entitlements manager for 4-Star Group. I appreciate the question. So we will be developing this from the County Road 500 entrance to the west. So the county road improvements would be done alongside that, our section 1 paving, which would be the area. It's most likely going to be kind of this area. So the passing blisters and any improvements on County Road 500 will be done at the time of paving of section 1. So it's not going to be torn up for an extended period of time. And
So if you lay asphalt in section 1, then at that time, the road improvements will be done too.
yes.
And we
At least the
won't.
first layer, right?
Yeah, and I assume.
Yeah, you
I
don't
actually
put on
am
the
not-
top coat until the end when they're turned over.
Yeah, and I would, as long as the town allows us to do the surface coat on the county road prior to us having, I don't know if it's 80% built out or what the exact
There
requirement
may
is.
be a
in
timing
Florida.
issue on that, Marcus, when you want it done.
Yeah.
My point is, I don't want the open ditches all winter with traffic cones saying, don't drive in here, and there's a 4-foot abyss
Yeah.
where it should be a guardrail.
Yeah, our subdivision control ordinance states for the asphalt surface and local roads, it's at 80% build out or 3 years, and we follow that pretty tightly. But where we have along a collector road, we put that surface on. well, we've changed in the last few years to where we put the surface on at the time of the initial paving, so we don't have that drop off right
And
along
we
the
don't
right
want
of
the
way.
gap. We don't want it to start and excavated and then here, oh, the weather isn't cooperating. And we have this open ditch. Our snowplow rolled over on 750 because of this exact issue last winter. We had a town accident because of the Colonnade developer leaving it open. So that's what I'm after, is
Yeah.
it gets started and done in a timely fashion. Maybe I should say that once it's started in a construction season, that it's finished in that same season to a safe level per year.
Usually,
Purview.
the way this is handled is it's done essentially, we withhold the plat until all the infrastructure is complete. Now, where you get into a little bit of an issue with what you're describing is in the event that they miss their paving window and they can't finish it.
Like they excavate and then the asphalt plants close.
Yes.
And then they go, well, we can't do it till next spring, and then you've got a 4-foot drop off from the edge of a road.
We try to prevent that from
Yeah.
happening and to try to make sure, but
Well, since they're the ones building it, I'm trying to extract a promise here that they're gonna not do that.
And with the timing of our contract, I believe that this would be paving sometime in the middle of summertime of next year, so we wouldn't be pushing up to where you're getting Christmas and there you can't even put surface down because the temperatures are
Yeah,
too
we just don't
cold.
wanna have to send you all letters of, hey, we've got a 4-foot abyss here that's filled with water and litter.
Yep.
And it's starting to snow.
Some quick question on that, why is it that up? Is the developer putting in accelerate, decelerate, and an accelerating lane and a passing blister on the east side of the road?
Yeah, it calls for a couple passing blisters.
yeah, I believe that it does.
Yeah.
It calls
Okay.
for that and the widening. It's all part of the PUD language.
My big concern is that is a big, huge thoroughfare for school, for a lot of, and I'm concerned about people trying to make a left-hand turn back into that neighborhood without a passing blister of some sort there, and, that's gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
If,
The passing blister or left turn lane in conformance with the town standard and as required by the town engineer.
and if the neighborhood is paved, those passing blisters are
Yeah.
going to be
I
paved.
mean, I think your commitment is, hey, we're doing section 1.
Yeah.
Is a lot more committed than
Yeah, we
anybody
could-
else comes in here, because usually, like Mark said, it's about 80%, that'd be about 20% in there putting that stuff in, so,
Well, that's reasonable.
yeah, that's very reasonable for me, and
Second thing is, you are a land developer, correct?
Yes, sir.
So a land developer holds the developer's discount for a long period of time. And we're under kind of a financial pinch where our tax situation is changing. And if you look at the fiscal plan, there's a long delay in us collecting tax revenue from the large tax assessed value increase that will occur with Stone Chase. But since you're a land developer, not a home builder, and then when you transition to the home builder, I'm wondering if you're willing to stipulate that when the first building permit is pulled for any lot in your subdivision, that all of the platted lots at that time will lose their developer's discount and be taxed at their full residential platted lot value, which currently in McCordsville is around $79,000, and for us, it's thousands of dollars of tax revenue. And there's a
It's
disconnect
not
here between you being not a builder, you're bringing in builders and selling lots, which will be my third thing.
Yeah.
Just clarify, it's not new tax revenue to the town. We're capped at 4% growth, and that is all in the formula.
There's a
So all it's
developer's
really
discount and the
Well,
results of a
there
long
might
delay.
be, but it's not doing what you're saying. It's doing, what it's actually doing is diversifying your tax base and lowering your tax rate at that point.
No, the developer's discount causes a delay in collection of tax revenue, which causes a delay in long-term interest accumulation on funds. And time value is everything, moving it up when the tax law is changing.
We're capped at a levy. We can't get more than that levy.
Yeah, so the legislature this time around took some drastic measures. So you have a 4% maximum levy growth. I'm assuming, I haven't looked at your numbers, that each year you guys have probably taken an excess levy appeal in addition to that. They took away the option of an excess levy appeal. So that's gone altogether. So the only levy growth that McCordsville is going to be able to capture from this year moving forward until there's a change in the legislature is 4%. And so I hear what you're saying, Dr. Bernie, about how if you're able to grow your levy at a much higher percentage rate, I can see where that would come in and really impact your collections. But you guys are going to be up to your maximum levy based upon the growth of this community.
Yeah, we're averaging 17 to 22%, so we're going to lose all that levy growth. We'll cap at 4% every year.
Okay, the third question is, you have 2 builders, and we have a number of subdivisions, one in particular, where we're on like our 3rd builder for one section. And we go through and we approve elevations, and the next builder comes in and says, well, this isn't really what we have this, and it's always less. So if you guys change developers and sell any lot in a subdivision to a 3rd developer, I want the architectural provisions to say that any elevation that has masonry in the front, and there is a minimum number required, that the PUD requirement changes to a complete full masonry wrap for all of those elevations. If you sell to a 3rd developer. If you say, oh, it's these developers and we're not going to sell, that's fine, just don't sell. There's no problem if you don't sell. But if you sell, the 3rd person's going to come in and say, oh, we didn't agree to this, we want lesser. And we try to hold them to character and quality, and we can't stipulate sales prices. But what we want, if you go to a 3rd developer, is no, we want more, and if they want less, maybe we can work it out. But we want more up front if you do that. So if you're not going to build or have developers build what you're putting there, we want a better standard.
And it's difficult as just the land developer to say, as we're still very early in the process, as
hey, you're the one selling lots.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell them if you don't like it.
So Silverthorne and D.R. Horton both have approved elevations. D.R. Horton for the 65s and Arbor
Okay,
Silverthorne
so let's say you
for
sell
the
to
80s.
Pyatt and they want to build
Yeah.
townhomes.
Well,
We have exactly that
yeah.
situation coming up here.
Yeah.
So speak to it.
So, unfortunately, we're not under contract with D.R. Horton nor Arbor Silverthorne on
so
the
you have
lots
no
at this
builders.
time. At this time, we don't own the ground yet.
So
we
tell
don't.
me why we should approve a PUD with no builders.
So we have a corporate relationship with D.R. Horton where D.R. Horton is in 99% of our developments right now across
But you
Central
don't have a
Indiana.
contract?
We have a master service agreement with D.R. Horton, and we have to offer them half of our first lots. This is a very desirable community where D.R. Horton does not yet have, does not anymore have a neighborhood, and they very much
I say come
are
back when you have
interested.
contracts with what you're going to build. We have elevations here.
Yeah.
You say you're going to build them, and you don't have a builder contract.
Yes,
Why
I
don't you come
don't.
back when you have your plan complete?
And that's just not how our process works. We don't even have own the land yet. This is all
My
very
process is we
early.
sit here and approve plans on the come, and you don't even have a plan.
I
There's no plan.
I very much feel that Arbor Silverthorne and D.R. Horton will build in Stone Chase, but I cannot make any promises on them. And I know you will hold whoever comes in, if there would be another builder, to the fire at the Architectural Review Committee if we do have someone else come in with
I have
some
no other
additional
questions,
elevations.
President Brewer.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or not approve the ordinance.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 061025A.
Actually, it's-
Second?
yes, yeah. There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 061025A. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. So it's 2-2. Stephanie,
Yeah, roll call.
roll call, please.
Greg Brewer,
Yay.
Brian Burney,
Nay.
Scott Jones,
Yay.
John Price.
Nay.
Stephanie Kreider, yay. All right, ordinance passes. Thank you. Okay, Assistant Town Manager report, project status, please.
Project status report is posted. We have updated it as we usually do. I think we're up to 130 some projects, and happy to answer any questions you have on it.
What are your criteria for removing a project from the list?
It's
Like you have on there that they're dead, but the zoning persists. How long does it stay on the list? How do you do that?
there's no cut and fast rules. We kind of pull it off when we feel like it's for sure dead and gone. You know, I always hesitate to pull them off because I feel like as soon as I pull them off, they're going to come right back on. But there's no rule. This is just internal form that we've used that we place on an agenda, and we do pull a few off. I pulled a few off this month, pulled a few off last month. You know, again, there's no rules or regulations over this. It's just a form to provide input and feedback.
Questions for Ryan on any of the projects?
What's going on with Jacoby Farms? I've heard that LMS has pulled out.
I do believe that to be the case, that or at least there's no longer a contract between LMS and Pulte, and Pulte is working to determine what their next steps are.
This is just one, right?
All right.
So if they find a partner that's doing something different than the original PUD, does the PUD come back to the planning department?
Yeah, well, if they would find another partner that needs to build a different product that does not meet the requirements of the PUD, absolutely yes. They would have to come back and go through a PUD amendment process or a brand new PUD. So we're talking about a multi-month process that would be seen by both the Plan Commission and the Town Council and the ARC. If they're able to find a partner that's willing to build a product that meets the PUD requirements, then it continues to move forward as it has, and eventually it'd be seen just by the ARC and then by staff from a building permit standpoint.
We'll just find everything. All right. Any other questions for Ryan? Okay, town manager's report. Yeah, just a few items.
Sorry, just a few items. We have a couple programs coming up this Friday at 8 p.m. in McCord Square. Is the rescheduled movie If outdoor movie. I believe activities start at 7 o'clock. There's some games and some food vendors and whatnot. So please come down to McCord Square and support our parks program, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Next Sunday, June 22nd, 9 to 11 is our next Cars and Coffee. It was jam-packed last time. We ran out of coffee immediately and donuts, so get there early. We're trying to address that, but that is June 22nd, 9 to 11. Just so the town council is aware, we put out the park master plan, 5-year master plan RFP went out today. It's on our website as well. So those are due back, I believe July 14th is the date they're due back. So we figured now the comp plan's done, we should jump into the next planning documents, several planning documents. So we'll have the sewer master plan, the town hall feasibility study, the UDO ordinance, and the 5-year park master plan all going at the same time. So glad we're not busy. And then the last thing I just want to talk about is the budget process. So we are in it. I would say we're a little behind schedule, and that was partly due because we didn't start too early waiting on SEA 1. As you're aware, because we signed the contract, we should have some initial information back. We hired Policy Analytics to do an analysis of the impacts of SEA 1, as have many other communities. So we should be getting that back the third week in June, I believe they stated, and we'll meet with Mike Reuter and walk through that. And we have our initial fiscal plan. Mike was going to make some changes based on our initial meeting and bring that back as well. We have received all but one department budget. not saying any names. All but one department budget, and I sent my initial salary spreadsheet to Stephanie and Kathy today. Plug and play numbers, knowing our budget's going to be high, and we'll have to whittle it down into a true budget. The process is a little different this year. We've always had a true budget and our max appeal budget. With the max appeal being gone, this will be much more of a needs to be the budget, the true budget. We had our capital projects plan. I need to put that together for Stephanie and Kathy to plug in. We're doing that last based on how much money's left, and it'll be much more slimmed down to what we truly can accomplish in the year. Try to keep our budget within the parameters of growth, or in our case, slight loss, to make everything work. So we're putting everything together. This initial run will be high, and then we'll work it back down into a workable budget. Our intent is to have the fiscal plan, the policy analytics plan, and our initial budget run with capital project plans, and meet with council members separately, well, in groups of no more than two, to walk through all that and kind of lay out where we're at right around July's meeting here, beginning of July, so that we can stay on target with feedback from council to make tweaks and amendments to it prior to having to actually bring our first reading of the ordinance together. So look for us to be reaching out to walk through all those plans with you and provide data and our initial proposed budget early July.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will do town councilor comments. Again, just for people who are new to the audience, this is a time where any council member has 5 minutes to speak on any topic they would like. They do not have to, but we do that just as a courtesy to each member. I'll start with Dr. Price.
Yes.
Pass. Mr. Jones?
Nothing for me, sir.
Dr. Burney?
I wonder if Ryan could speak over his plans for providing some introductory training to new members of the ARC, which I fully agree with and applaud, and think we might expand to all boards and commissions for the town. Because as I mentioned to Ryan, it was clear that some members of the committee had not even read the handouts that he labored hours to prepare before the meeting. They're having no idea whatsoever of requirements for PUDs or architectural standards, yet they're sitting on the ARC and hadn't read the stuff. So there's nothing other than they show up for the meetings, and it appears that some sort of training or introduction is needed. And I think Ryan has some ideas in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, we have already provided, we always provide an upfront initial training session with all new members of any of our boards. And by any boards, at least the ones that Planning and Building serves, which is ARC, TAC, Plan Commission, BZA, and I guess Council as well. So we do that, initially with all new members, and then annually, both Plan Commission and BZA do an annual training session, usually January of the year, unless the January meeting's canceled, then we'll move it to February. But getting back to the ARC, we are also going to do additional training session with some of our newer members, I think it's next week, and kind of walk through just again, kind of roles and responsibilities of the board, and keep working and educating and getting new folks up to speed. I think it's a very difficult job for new folks. The rest of the board has been in place for a very long time and have been working on many PUDs over the years. And so we have some new folks that are 3 months in, and they're still learning the ropes, and that's okay. It's about training them and educating and kind of getting them up to speed. And so staff will continue to work on that. Again, we're going to do an extra session next week, and if we need to do more, we'll do more.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Dr. Bryant. I'm going to use my time tonight just briefly to kind of piggyback onto what Chief Elder presented earlier tonight on the budget and how decisions of the State House might seem good and well-intended are going to have a dramatic, I think, impact to local citizens on the services provided. And I think those impacts are going to have a deep hit, especially in public safety. We are a growing community that is going to continue to need EMS and firefighter responses. 80+% of our calls are to our medical emergencies. And the fact that we could be putting people's lives in jeopardy because people at the State House don't know how to figure out how to properly fund local municipalities and put that on the shoulders of people like us who have very little ability to raise taxes or raise funds is going to have, I think, hopefully not a catastrophic event, but we're going to lose people. We're a growing community. We're going to lose, and what I mean by losing people is firefighters are going to have to look at other communities that can pay them higher salaries because we're going to get stagnant. And when that happens and we have to lose firefighters and EMTs because we can't afford to pay them because of decisions at the State House, that's going to have a quality of life impact. And so I hope, our state senator, Mike Kreider, and I hope our, state representative, Chris Jeter, will revisit this in the near legislative sessions that this needs more in-depth work, because to go from the ability to have projecting to add 6 more, and that doesn't seem, it seems like a lot, but we're trying to grow a department. We have 13,000 residents just in McCordsville alone. You got 6,000 to 7,000 in Portville, and those people, we do probably, I won't speak for Chief, probably on average about 12 EMS medical runs a day. We are growing in medical runs, but we're not growing in revenue to pay for those services and for those people. So I just want, I'm going to be a vocal advocate that gets fixed, because we can't have a $1.2 million hit to our fire budget every year and expect to maintain service, expect to have response times be where they are. And what's going to happen is that's going to put a huge burden on mutual aid eventually. And so these decisions have consequences. So hopefully we'll figure this out. Hopefully some cooler heads will prevail and some better ideas will come, because having a community that's growing at 17 to 22% and not be able to capture that to help pay for police and fire and public safety is unsustainable. So just my thoughts. But I again want to thank Chief Elder for coming, and you've got a tough task ahead of you. And so do you, Chief Casey, I think. All right, with that, I need a motion to approve the vouchers.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve the vouchers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Our next meeting will be July 8th, 2025, 6 p.m. If I don't say it, have a happy 4th of July, everyone. Happy Independence Day. Easter.
So the cigar bar went up in smoke.
No, they asked for continuance. Be told they weren't ready. I think they've got the message that those storage